If you are on to round two, then we are here for you. Bars. It is the Broto Fantasy Football Podcast, and we are here for you. And the way that we are going to mold our thoughts and give you what we think is going to happen, which, by the way, our predictions the last couple of weeks, not to toot our own horn, have been spot on fire in terms of confidence plays. And we're going to give you confidence plays again this week, plus all the news, plus the mailbag, plus the rankings. It's all here. Everything you need, and it's all coming from the Fantasy Football by Broto app, the only tool you need to dominate fantasy football, and it is absolutely free. And the reason it is absolutely free is because of the patrons over at patreon.com/BrotoFantasy who support the show, keep the show running, and help us pay for everything, including an application. So thank you to the patrons. I know there's a lot of patrons in games this week that I know must be doing something right. Let's start the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Broto Fantasy Football Podcast presented by BrotoFantasy.com and the Fantasy Football by Broto app, the only tool you need to dominate fantasy football. Yeah. This intro never gets old to me. And you know what else never gets old to me? Introducing the man to my left or right, depending on which angle you're looking at this, Mr. Michael Petropoulos, the greatest in the game right now, if I must say so myself.
What up, team? Yo, let me just start by saying this. I'm playing Johnny this week in our home league in the semifinals. We're both dealing with
the brother on brother crime.
Yeah, we both had fortunate seasons dealing with a lot of stuff, but able to get into the playoffs. Now we're playing each other in the semis. And Johnny had DeMarcus Robinson in his lineup until yesterday, and he took him out. And I was like, I'm kind of glad he's taking him out. I did not expect DeMarcus Robinson to have 6 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown in one half.
No, that's what's happening right now. I'm not
DeMarcus
watching.
Robinson has 17.2 half PPR fantasy points.
Oh my God. I told Johnny to take him out because Tutu's playing.
Wow. Thanks, Tim.
Whoa. Who would have saw that coming? Tutu's playing. Yeah, I thought he was losing his job.
See, that was one thing that I think confused people because Tutu missed last week with a concussion. But Tutu played the week before, and DeMarcus Robinson kind of took the job already, but people kind of didn't realize that was happening.
Because didn't he take the job because he left with a concussion?
Well, he started playing closer to Tutu like 3 weeks ago. A couple weeks ago, he started playing more. Then Tutu got hurt, and then he kind of just completely took over the wide receiver 3 role. So some people thought Tutu would come back and take over again. That's certainly not the case.
Wow, Johnny is going to be angry at me.
I mean, I don't blame you.
Sorry, Johnny.
It was a difficult matchup against New Orleans and everything, but few.
Yeah,
few for me.
Few is right because that would have been something. Well, who does he have there right now?
Curtis Samuel against the Jets.
Curtis Samuel against the Jets. Oof, that's a tough one.
He also has Hunter Henry in his flex, so I'm glad Hunter Henry's playing Denver. Otherwise, that wouldn't be the case. He would have DeMarcus Robinson in there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the one that led him towards Hunter Henry. I'll be talking about Hunter Henry later in this game. Hey, I don't think 17 points out of the question. Let's put it that way for Hunter Henry. Maybe not the first half, but let's get into it today. Player news, because there are big player news, big time pieces of player news, including some news that dropped today. Trevor Lawrence in concussion protocol, did not practice today. I mean, if I was a betting man, I'd say Trevor Lawrence does not play next week. So what does that do to his weapons? What does that do to everyone around him? I'm sure that there's many people with Travis Etienne on their rosters going into the playoffs. I know I'm one of them who has Travis Etienne on my playoff roster that's playing this Sunday. People probably have Calvin Ridley. People probably have Evan Ingram, who came on strong at the end of the year. What are you looking at, Michael? How are you looking at this?
Yeah, this is clearly not ideal for the Jaguars or her fantasy managers. I mean, the Jaguars were 8-3, and people are like, "Oh, they could even get the number 1 seed," and now they're 8-6, and they could be bounced out of the playoffs if they continue losing.
They were the number 1 seed for like 2 hours, and then like a 4:00 game knocked them out. The Dolphins.
Yeah, and I always thought the Jaguars were slightly fraudulent, but not to the point where they wouldn't make the playoffs. And a 3-game losing streak, and now they get Tampa, who's riding high after last week's victory against Green Bay. They're also fighting for a playoff spot. Really bad timing for Lawrence to get hurt. Yeah, it's just unfortunate, and he is like you said, likely to be out, still dealing with a concussion. He was one of my confidence plays this week until I found out that he was missing practice again today, and then the newest report about an hour or so ago on Thursday. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. How could you trust? I mean, Calvin Ridley hasn't really done much at all when he's been the alpha type receiver. He's always been way better with Christian Kirk and Zay Jones on the field. Now, Zay Jones is also not practicing. Kirk's out the year. Like, we're going to have CJ Beathard throwing to Parker Washington and Evan Ingram and company. It's not looking good. And Travis Etienne has also fallen off from his high-end RB1 status since the offense has slowed down, because he was really getting carried by touchdowns, but they're not scoring like that right now.
And when you look at the Buccaneers too, this is a team that has turned it around pretty well. Their team is they're trending up. Baker's playing well. The defense is getting better over the last 3 weeks. They've gone from middle of the pack against the quarterback to a negative matchup. They've dropped 6 points to the 21st matchup rank. They're -4% over average, so they're under the average of the quarterback. And they've been a great run defense all year, and right now they are 29th, so the third worst matchup for running backs. And when you think of Etienne, you might think of, but he gets receptions too. But -21% on running back percentage is the 26th best matchup, and that's dropped 3 spots over the past 3 weeks. So not an easy matchup for already with Trevor Lawrence, and then you put CJ Beathard, who I have to reiterate, shockingly handsome, surprisingly handsome.
I do want to shout out Baker, though. He was my confidence play last week, and
that was a good call, Michael.
The QB2 overall on the week, his best performance of the year. And also, shout out to Baker Mayfield, 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions this year, 3,300 passing yards, resurrecting his career. This really just goes to show you, like, how many of these quarterbacks that people think are toast can actually perform at a high level when they have weapons and smart coaching. And like, you see what happened with Geno Smith last year when he had DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett and company. He resurrected his career. Now Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Rashad White and company. Like, you never really know what these guys are, I guess.
Also, like, not for nothing, this is his 5th year in the league. You know, like, everyone's expected to perform. It's just like one of those domino effect kind of things, because you put in the rookie wage scale, and because of that, everyone wants to win with a rookie quarterback. Like, look at the Niners right now. The reason you could pay all those people is because you're playing Brock Purdy less than $1 million per year. He's making like $825,000. And you know what?
Do you want to say, Tim? Because we've always had the Baker or Sam Darnold argument. Obviously, right now the answer would be Baker based on this season. But if Sam Darnold was the quarterback for the 49ers, I really wonder what the conversation would be.
Yeah, I love Brock Purdy. I love the story, and I like the way he plays. I like his attitude. Like, he doesn't really – everyone's shitting on him, and he's just kind of going about his business and not giving a shit. And he might win MVP. Like, yeah. He's on pace right now to have the highest quarterback rating in 49ers history, the most touchdowns in 49ers history, and I think the most yards in 49ers history. And you're talking about guys that he's beating for these records are named Steve Young and Joe Montana.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not nothing. I know it's a different game, but it's not nothing.
The Michael Salfino of The Athletic is trying to make an argument that Christian McCaffrey should be the MVP. Basically, the last couple running backs to do what Christian McCaffrey's doing this year were MVPs. Emmitt Smith, I think, and then a different running back. We're in a day and age where running backs like don't win MVPs anymore. It's like a QB trophy nowadays. But I mean, we've seen that offense, like, not this year. Christian McCaffrey stayed healthy for the most part, but we've seen that offense with and without Christian McCaffrey over the last like 2 years, and it's like night and day.
The thing is also with and without Brock Purdy.
That too, yeah. Like, but even like, we haven't seen that this year though. Last year when Brock Purdy got hurt, who was Jimmy G was also hurt, right? Like, so it was the third string quarterback, and Josh Johnson, I think, they came in right in the playoffs. So can't really
Trey
really
Lance was hurt,
can't rely on
so
Josh
really the
Johnson.
fourth,
Yeah.
really the fourth string quarterback, because Trey Lance was there.
Yeah, true.
You know what? Not to harp on the 49. You know what? Let's not harp on the 49ers. Let's keep this going. Let's keep this moving. The Kenneth Walker shoulder remains sidelined for Thursday's practice. This one kind of came out of nowhere. He completely took over the backfield last week in a big win. I don't know if you saw Pete Carroll going nuts, but that was cool.
Yeah.
Back-to-back did not practice is now new injury. Dude, what the hell? A lot of people are like, "Oh, yes, Kenneth Walker." Now back-to-back did not practice. I think I'm not if I have Kenneth Walker and Michael, I know you have Kenneth Walker in that matchup you're talking about. If I have him, I'm not panicking quite yet, but panic mode seems on the horizon.
Yeah, I was planning on talking about Ken Walker in the second half of this episode, but yes, the Friday report is going to be very important.
The Thursday report did not do your research well, Michael.
Yeah, I know. It's supposed to be Ken Walker and T-Law as two of the picks, but yeah, with Ken Walker, we've seen the Seahawks play this game with their running backs. Then Friday they return, and then they, they're off the injury report by Sunday. So Friday is going to be very telling, in my opinion, especially because Wednesday was the walkthrough for them this week because they played on Monday night. So they're kind of like a day back. You know what I mean? In terms of getting ready for the next game. If it was a typical Sunday game. So I do think Friday is going to be telling because that's kind of like their Thursday of a normal week if they weren't playing on Monday night, or if they hadn't played on Monday night rather.
Odell Beckham absent from Thursday's practice due to an illness. Man, I gotta say I'm a teacher at a school and there's like 5 teachers that have COVID.
Really?
Knock on wood, but it's COVID season, man. This thing is COVID, flu, and cold season. That's what it just is these days. So
yeah,
he's sick in some way, so should be able to play on Monday night. Raiders tight end Michael Mayer. That's why did not practice on Thursday. So if you were planning on playing him, but I want to get into the next Raiders guy. Josh Jacobs did not practice on Thursday. So we saw a lot of work for Zamir White in Josh Jacobs' absence. How you feeling about Zamir White if Josh Jacobs doesn't play this week?
Yeah, the issue with Zamir White is that, if I'm not mistaken, they play Monday night, right?
Yes.
Actually, not Monday night, Monday afternoon, 1 p.m. There's a couple time slots on Monday because it's Christmas Day. Is there an 8:30, 8 o'clock Monday game?
I don't know, man. They're trying to take Christmas from us.
Yeah, I mean, NFL on Christmas is better than NBA on Christmas. So.
I agree, but I mean that I won a championship once on a Travis Kelce touchdown on Christmas, which, by the way, people, is my birthday. Yeah, so imagine having a big play. It was like a 70-yard touchdown, a big play to win a fantasy championship on your birthday, also on Christmas. I think that might be peak of my life. I think it's all downhill from there.
Yeah. But yeah, there is a Monday night game, Ravens and 49ers. So 3 games on Monday, but if you stick with Zamir White, you'd have to have a backup of like a Giant, Eagle, Raven, or 49er. The thing is, Josh Jacobs right now is kind of expected to play, so I'd probably go with the alternative. But again, it's only Thursday, so you do have time to see if that clears up. But if Josh Jacobs were to be ruled out, I mean, we saw what Zamir White was able to do last week. He was the lead guy. He saw targets. I wouldn't say a workhorse, but he was the clear lead back. And against KC, the Raiders, for whatever reason, tend to have a good running game every time they play against KC. Josh Jacobs had a massive game against them last year, had a good game against them already this year. So he would be an interesting flex type option.
I mean, couldn't have said it better myself, sir. Tony Pollard said there is a night and day difference with his health compared to the beginning of the season. That could explain things a little bit. Devon Achane returned on a limited practice on Thursday. He has not been the same since coming back. It's kind of been the Raheem Mostert, not kind of. It's been the Raheem Mostert show. This guy has taken over in terms of the backfield. Now, Achane still gets some work. Don't get me wrong. But he's just not hitting the big plays at the same clip that he was before he got injured. And just like, I don't think the injury has anything to do with that. It's just like he was hitting the big plays so frequently that you can't sustain that. But this is a playoff matchup. Do you play him? What's the deal?
Yeah, the issue with the chain is that, like you said, the biggest big play hasn't been there. He's still been like producing with his opportunities in the last 2 weeks. 10 fantasy points, 8 fantasy points, the RB26 and RB31 in half PPR format. So it's not like he's been useless. Those are flex worthy numbers.
Yep.
So the fact that he's still
But
flex worthy,
But you
yeah,
know,
exactly. It's not
living
RB,
up to expectations.
it's not RB4 overall.
Right.
But the fact that he's still flex worthy, bad matchup on paper against Dallas, but a high scoring possibility in this game, which I like. If I have Devon Achane, I'm likely starting him. I don't know who your options are, but like I'm starting him this week in my home league. I do think he still has a very high ceiling. All he has to just break one out. Because like I said, 2 weeks ago, Tua missed him on a should be like 70-yard passing touchdown. People would be talking about him a completely different way if they were able to connect on that pass.
Also to note, he's playing the Cowboys. Cowboys obviously a bad matchup for all positions, really, but particularly the running back, 27th overall in terms of best matchup, and that's 6 spots down from earlier. So already a bad matchup, an even worse matchup. Only 15.7 points allowed to running backs per game. That's minus 18 points percent points over average. So. Or I should say points under average, but we can't do that. We got to say minus because the name of the thing is points over average. We should probably figure that out. Tyreek Hill returned to a limited practice on Thursday, so you are definitely happy to get Tyreek Hill back. If you missed him last week, I just happened to have Noah Brown take his spot, so I could say that I did not miss Tyreek Hill last week, but it was definitely a heartbreaker right when I had to take him out of the lineup right before. Went right on Sunday. That was definitely a heartbreaker. I wonder how many teams out there didn't have a Noah Brown that it really hurt them because this guy scores 20 points a week, and all of a sudden on Sunday he's ruled out. Tough. But he's going to be playing this week. Do you have any doubts about him or anything like of that nature?
I mean, if you have Tyreek Hill and you're considering not playing him, you're a psycho. So yeah, just play Tyreek Hill.
Will Levis did not practice on Thursday because of an ankle, which means the true throw value king, Ryan Tannehill, can come back in a very, very good matchup, Michael. A very, very good matchup, Michael. I'm getting a little excited here. Michael, let me ask you a question. All right. If you're, let's say, obviously you're not playing Ryan Tannehill, but say you're in a two quarterback league and you're desperate and Ryan Tannehill is out there. You're talking about they're playing Seattle in terms of true matchup rank. Let's check this out right now on the Fantasy Football by Brodo app. Seattle, the 14th matchup for quarterbacks. So a plus matchup for quarterbacks. Michael, what do you think? Is a true value king back for one last hurrah?
The GOAT, Ryan Tannehill. Look, I have DeAndre Hopkins in my home league. So for his sake, I hope Ryan Tannehill plays well in Tannehill's defense. Will Levis has not been tremendous during his time as a quarterback. Besides his first game, he's certainly dealt with the ups and downs of a rookie season since then.
He's been good for a rookie. I will say that.
He's had his flashes. He's also, struggled at times. But we know who Ryan Tannehill is. I just hope he's able to get the damn ball to DeAndre Hopkins. He's also a veteran, though. I don't think he's going to have any trouble stepping back into the QB1 position.
Can we just take this time to just thank Ryan Tannehill because it is week 16. It used to be championship week. So thank you, Ryan Tannehill, for winning us and so many of the Brodo listeners championships over the years because you were literally a cheat code. You would finish as QB2 or QB for 4 years in a row. It was between QB2 and QB7, and you would be undrafted. You just fall to us at the very, very end. And it allowed us to build incredible teams without having to draft the quarterback. So thank you, Ryan. We appreciate you. Thank you for all the championships. All right, let's go into the next one. Devontae Smith did not practice on Thursday. Ooh, this one's interesting. This is a knee injury. I don't remember this being an issue until now, unless I'm mistaken. It says here he's played 94% of the team's offensive snaps, listed as an injury. I don't remember seeing him on the Wednesday injury report. What This is whoa. What's going on here, Mike?
Yeah, this is another thing like Ken Walker, where it's just like shit. When did this happen?
Yeah.
But again, they played Monday night, so they are like you could kind of say it's kind of like a Wednesday practice, so you're not entirely sure if it's like something you have to be super worried about or not. If you have Devontae Smith, though, this is certainly not ideal. Similar to Ken Walker, like you do not want to see this. You want to play him. You want him to be healthy. And he's also in a matchup against the Giants, where it's not like the Giants have a fucking scary secondary that you have to be afraid of. So certainly something to keep an eye on. We should get a better idea by tomorrow. I'll tell you one thing. The Giants are very good against the tight end this season. But if Devontae Smith is out, Dallas Goedert would be very, very interesting.
You shouldn't be playing this guy anyway, but Marquise Brown, he has a heel injury. He did not practice on Thursday. Talk about like something that makes no sense. Kyler comes back. The reason why they even got Hollywood is because they were teammates in college. They had a good rapport when Kyler was there. And then all of a sudden he just disappeared. And I know he's a man beater and people play zone a lot more these days. So that's been the reason why people who analyze the routes, like don't get me wrong, I know what I'm looking at, but I'm not someone who analyzes tape. There are people out there who analyze tape who blame that reason on Marquise Brown, but he just completely fell off the earth. He's like had one good game with Kyler Murray. Like, damn,
yeah, very odd.
What the hell happened?
Odd. I don't really know what happened, but now he's a DNP, like you said.
He's
Dortch
worthless.
Is a DNP. Michael Wilson might end up being a sneaky flex option in like 16-team desperation type leagues,
or even in leagues where there's some injuries.
Trey McBride is going to see like 150 targets again, though.
What a pickup he's been, Trey McBride. He's been a godsend for people.
Also, Hard University.
What? Zach Moss did not practice, which means Jonathan Taylor could be in for the
Jonathan Taylor share. Practiced in full.
He did, so he could be in for the lion's share of these carries, and not just half of them or over half of them. With if Zach Moss doesn't play, it's going to be the Jonathan Taylor show against the Steelers. So I'm sorry, not against the Steelers. That was last week. They played the Steelers last week. This week the Colts play. Where are you? Where are you, Colts? Atlanta.
Right now
there you go. Atlanta. So the Colts play Atlanta. So, I mean, it's not a great matchup, but it's not a bad matchup. It's a decent matchup. I mean, you got to be excited if you have Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah. I mean, returning to a full practice, back-to-back days, and Zach Moss being injured, that means you have nothing to worry about. Like, Jonathan Taylor's likely to see like 75-80% of the snaps. So yeah,
Zach Wilson did not practice. He's battling that concussion. Obviously, Trevor Siemian starting for the Jets. This is an interesting matchup because the Jets are in the very last ranked offense in the league, but the Commanders are the very worst defense in the league. So it's like, what happens when a very movable object meets a extremely stoppable force?
Yeah.
What will prevail? Right now, Vegas has the Jets scoring 20. The Jets score 20, that would be like an offensive explosion.
Honestly, I'm not even I know Trevor Siemian's likely to start and everything, but I don't know. The Washington defense has been so bad this year. Now they don't have Sweat and Young. Like, even their best fantasy games, I think they've reached double digits like once all year. Like, there's plenty of other defenses I prefer to Washington. Just not. I mean, I know they have the great matchup against the Jets, but like they just don't do anything.
Yeah,
I don't do anything.
I wasn't suggesting playing Washington's defense.
No, I'm just saying. I know they're like they're a popular ad this week because of the matchup. People like to stream matchups, of course, makes sense. But
I'm looking at that more of what's Breece Hall going to do, rather than because look, I know you can sack the quarterback very easily against the Jets, but no one's sacking the quarterback Like when you pick defenses, everyone should know this who's listening. When you pick defenses, you don't go for who's going to give up the least points or who has the best matchup. You go over who's going to get the most sacks and who has chances for turnovers. Sacks, turnovers, sacks, turnovers. That's what you need to be looking for in your defense. Alexander Madison did not practice Thursday, which is big because Ty Chandler had a better game than Alexander Madison had all week. And then Kevin O'Connell, the head coach, basically came out and was like, basically, all year. That's what I meant to say. And I mean, basically, the head coach Kevin O'Connell came out and said that Alexander Madison is going to be the backup, and I mean, like when he comes back, he's going to be a depth piece, and they're excited about Ty Chandler. Like I'm going to be talking about Ty Chandler a little later, and I think that you could even play Ty Chandler if Alexander Madison plays, but he didn't practice Thursday. It doesn't look like he's going to.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen.
I mean, it looks like Madison's going to be out though. So
yeah. Keenan Allen with a heel is out for Week 16 against the Bills. I'd be shocked if Keenan Allen played again this year.
Yeah, there's literally no reason to rush him back, or even like not even rush him back. Like he could be 85% healthy, and still, it's like, what's the point? Just keep him healthy.
It just shows like the domino effects. Like one of the reasons why this year has been so crazy is because there's been so many quarterback injuries. So like the domino effect of the quarterback injury, like Justin Herbert goes down and then it's just like boom, 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 boom. Everyone worthless on the Chargers.
Yep.
D'Onta Foreman missed practice because of a personal matter, so not an injury. But I do want to ask you, like last week he was extremely ineffective. Although some of that he did get goal line carries, right? So there's that. Extremely ineffective. Then Roschon Johnson came and took over that backfield. This is a very, very good matchup against the Cardinals. Not only is this is the best matchup against the Cardinals. How are you feeling about the Chicago backfield? It's like D'Onta Foreman not at practice, but he did start the game. He has been kind of the workhorse. Do you think they shift over to Roschon? Do you think they go back to D'Onta? Like, how are you looking at this? Because someone's gonna have a good game in this game. Like it's impossible not to have a good game against the Cardinals. So someone's going to have a good game.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like Roschon Johnson is like the guy now, every week there's a new guy in Chicago, and him being the guy, he had 5 carries last week. He had 6 targets, but like, I don't know, man, we're talking about the Chicago Bears, who their number one runner is their QB. Like when they get to the red zone, D'Onta Foreman scored a couple times, but Justin Fields he's like Lamar Jackson, like you could always run it in. Except, I mean, this year they've been relying on Gus Edwards at the goal line and in Baltimore, but you know what I mean. Like you never know if like who's gonna even run it in when they do get to goal line rushing territory. So unless I'm desperate, I'm not trying to start any Bear running back. But if I had to, it'd be Roschon Johnson at this point.
Interesting. So let me ask you a question, Michael. Would you start Jerry Jeudy or D'Onta Foreman?
Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, but Jerry Jeudy, you're forgetting that he sucks.
He's led the team in targets in the last couple weeks, 70 yards last week.
Yes, but you're not taking into account that he sucks.
No, I'm taking into account the lack of skill. Just we're also talking about D'Onta Foreman.
Bro, does Joey Bosa on the low have Max Scherzer eyes? And I never noticed.
Definitely not.
It looks like in his picture right here that he has one brown eye and one blue eye.
Definitely not.
Just clicking on his picture made me lose my place here. Michael Pittman practiced in full on Thursday after getting walloped in one of the dirtiest hits of the year. Man, if he plays, you're gonna play him, right?
Wallop Baloo. Yeah, if Michael Pittman plays, you play Michael Pittman, especially because concussions aren't injuries where it really affects the play once the player returns.
In the least surprising news of the week, Ja'Marr Chase is out. You expected that. Rumor had it that
unfortunate.
He was supposed to have a MRI on Monday, and he couldn't get his shoulder in the MRI machine. That's how much pain it was in. And that's why they had to push the MRI back.
Hey.
He's not going to play. Unless
that sounds great for week 17.
Yeah, I think that you should be making plans to not have Ja'Marr Chase for the remainder of the fantasy season. Sorry, Mike. CJ Stroud also did not practice on Thursday. It's going to be Case Keenum again. I was surprised when I saw Case Keenum starting. I kind of went into the week with the impression that Davis Mills would be starting.
That's what we thought on Thursday. It was kind of like a surprise change, but I guess they wanted the veteran presence in there because, again, they do need to win games. Like, they're right in the middle of the playoff hunt, too.
It worked out.
Yeah.
He played well. Jerick McKinnon did not play, and Isaiah Pacheco is a full go. So
Yeah.
seems like Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, you're going to put him right back in your lineup. He's been fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I started McKinnon in a couple of leagues the last couple of weeks, and now I just cut him because like he's injured and he's like once Pacheco returns, what's he really gonna do? So yeah, but Pacheco, yeah, play him. He's back.
He's like a soldier for hire. We appreciate your service, sir.
The good old streaming running back.
Looks like Mason Rudolph is going to start for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's disgusting,
bro. How did it get so bad? I think everyone kind of knew that the Steelers were fraudulent. They remember that when they were like in first place, and it was a whole thing about the Steelers have been outscored by like 100 points, and they're over 500, and it was like this. You kind of saw the floor was going to be taken out from under them. Did you see that Najee Harris run last week where he just completely missed a hole and ran directly into a defender?
No, I did not.
Oh my God, Michael, if you haven't seen that, bro, you have to see that shit. It is crazy. It is Najee Harris is holy moly. James Cook returned to practice. That is good. I think that's it, Michael. I think we're wrapping up the news here, and we're ready to go on to the second part. Patreon.com/BrotoFantasy. Let me put that banner up right here. We got the banners in this.
Yeah.
I don't know where that banner is. Patreon.com/BrotoFantasy. There's so many folders and so many banners. If you want to come support the show and if you want to listen to this episode in full, we'll be giving you our confidence plays. I might add last week. Oh, there it is. Thanks, Mike. Last week's confidence plays, man. The week before that, we've been hitting them. So come see us. Patreon.com/BrotoFantasy. And of course, the mailbag. The mailbag is a juicy one this week. I know we usually don't look at the mailbag before to keep it fresh, but I had to this week. Like I had to put some research into my start sits, and they work out like I'm not gonna act like it's every time, but they work out a majority of the time. That's why these people continue to pay us.
I never peak. I mean, I do my studying. I got to keep it focused on the players only, and then you decide once you get the options.
Well, I've looked at them, so I'm familiar. So I'll be prepared for. That doesn't mean I'm not going to ask Michael to clarify who it is 5 times per question, though.
Keep that in mind. Yep.
Michael, what'd you have for dinner tonight, bro?
I went to this place, picked up food called Hot Peppers. It's basically Chipotle, but less expensive and like slightly larger variety of toppings and such.
And they don't use seed oils.
Don't use seed oils. It's got brown rice and spinach, half and half. Try to keep it a little lighter.
Nice. I'm not a big fan of cooked spinach. Not about that.
No, it was raw spinach.
We had some noodles, but Maria made lamb chopped meat instead of beef chopped meat, and then she put a little cinnamon. It tasted like pasticho, bro. It was phenomenal.
That sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, it was great. Pasticho, classic Greek dish. If you don't know,
if you've never had a pasticho, get yourself a pasticho.
Twitter.com/BrotoFantasy or X.com or whatever the hell. BrotoFantasy on Instagram and all that other stuff. BrotoFantasy. Follow us. Our handles. YouTube.com/BrotoFantasy. Peace out. See you
later.
See you. Hello from the other side.